Jeffrey was a rebellious young man, never one to shy away from voicing his opinion, were the stuff of legends among his colleagues, but they also made him somewhat of a thorn in the side of his employers. The peculiar behavior of his current employer, a shadowy organization known only as the Waste Disposal Unlimited, had recently raised Jeffrey's suspicions. Over the past few months, he had noticed a marked increase in the frequency and secrecy of his late-night shifts. His boss, a stern and enigmatic man named Mr. Henderson, was always evasive when questioned about the detail, signing confidentiality agreements and strict protocols. What bothered Jeffrey more than the lack of information was the sudden and inexplicable delay in his paychecks. He had always been paid promptly and fairly, but lately his checks were coming in weeks, sometimes even months late. When he approached Mr. Henderson about this, he was met with vague excuses and promises of a swift resolution that never materialized. The secrecy and delayed payments only fueled Jeffrey's curiosity. He found himself constantly wondering what kind of trash he was transporting, what secrets it held, and why his employer was so determined to keep it under wraps. His mind was filled with wild theories and half-formed conspiracies, but there was no way to confirm or deny them. The mystery surrounding his job became an obsession for Jeffrey. He found himself constantly scanning the trash he collected, searching for clues or inconsistencies. He even started keeping a journal to document his observations and suspicions. One fateful night, as Jeffrey was cruising down the highway, his mind lost in his latest conspiracy theories, a loud bang jolted him from his thoughts. Initially thinking it was a toppled pellet, he ignored it and moved on. But there it was again. Knock, knock, knock. "What the fuck?" he said. "What is going on there?" The persistent and unsettling sound sent shivers down his spine. He decided to investigate, pulling over to a secluded parking lot. The impossible lock on the truck's rear door presented a real challenge, but Jeffrey was not one to back down from a challenge. With a determined glint in his eyes, he retrieved his trusty bolt cutters and skillfully breached the barrier. Cautiously, he opened the door, his heart pounding in his chest. The stench that wafted out was unlike anything Jeffrey had ever encountered. It wasn't the familiar odor of decaying food that permeated his truck's interior, but something far more sinister. As he peered inside, he heard faint groans echoing through the darkness. 10 pellets of white bags, stacked neatly according to the papers, lined the truck bed. But Jeffrey's curiosity was piqued by the source of those unsettling sounds. Ignoring his better judgment, he climbed into the truck. Using his pallet truck, he attempted to move the first pallet, bracing himself for the resistance of the often subpar equipment he was forced to use. The pellets stubbornly refused to budge, causing Jeffrey to wonder if some strange liquid from the trash had seeped onto the floor. Just as he was about to give up, the pellet suddenly slid forward, revealing a horrifying sight. The pellets behind it were no longer stacked, but instead spread all over the floor. In the dim light, Jeffrey could make out a pile of white bags, their contents obscured by a thick crimson liquid. A sudden movement from within the pile startled Jeffrey, causing a stack of bags to topple over. His flashlight, now illuminated, pierced the darkness, revealing a pool of blood that stretched across the truck's bed. A wee groan emerged from beneath the bags. His curiosity turned to primal fear as he imagined the gruesome contents of the bags. With a surge of adrenaline, he lunged forward, determined to uncover the source of the sound. A wee groan emerged from beneath the bags. As he pulled back the bags, a small figure lay curled up in the corner, its eyes wide with terror. Whatever it was not human. He seemed to study his composure, whilst revealing a line of sharp red-stained teeth. Before Jeffrey could react, the creature lunged at him, its teeth bared, and its eyes burning with a fierce intensity. Jeffrey, who didn't hesitate, grabbed the creature by the legs and hurled the creature against the truck's wall, its form slumping to the ground. Curb-stomping the creature's head in, Jeffrey watched in disgust. Blood splattered across the already bloody truck, and Jeffrey's hand, now covered in blood, throbbed with pain. With his hand heavily bleeding, he jumped out of the truck, not even caring about what was going on. He wanted nothing to do with this. He closed the truck and drove towards the address as fast as possible. Arriving to the location, they noticed the chain of the door missing. After a long and heated argument, he got fired on the spot and mysteriously disappeared. A week later, whatever you do, don't ask questions at work.